My girlfriend said she'd never cut her ex off, so I made sure he became part of our breakup instead. When she played with my trust, I let her watch everything fall apart. When she told me, "I'm keeping my ex in my life, deal with it or leave," I didn't argue. I just nodded and said calmly, "I'll take option 3. Nicole laughed, thinking it was sarcasm. She had no idea that was the moment I stopped being her boyfriend and started being the man who'd end the game on my terms. We'd been together for almost a year and a half, living in my townhouse for the last 6 months. Everything had seemed steady, dinners together, shared bills, weekends out. Then her ex-husband Derek came back to town. At first, it was coffee once a week. Then it became constant texting, private calls, and finally, she invited him to our Labor Day barbecue without even asking me. When I brought it up, she went defensive. "Derek's part of my past, but he's still important to me," she said. "Just because we divorced doesn't mean I have to erase him." "Nicole," I said, "try to stay calm. He's texting you goodnight. That's not normal for an ex." She rolled her eyes. "You're insecure. Derek and I are adults. We're friends, that's all. If you can't handle that, maybe this relationship isn't for you." I stared at her, realizing how easily she'd flip the blame. "So that's it. You're choosing him over my comfort." That's when she crossed her arms and said the words that sealed her fate, "I'm keeping Derek in my life. Deal with it or leave." The room went silent. I nodded slowly. "Okay," I said. "I understand." She smiled in triumph. "Good. I'm glad you're being reasonable." I stood up, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "Actually, I'm choosing option 3. She frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "I'll figure it out," I said and walked away. That night, while she slept peacefully beside me, I opened her desk drawer. Her mistake was leaving Derek's business card right there, bold, clean, and waiting. Investment advisor. Downtown office. Perfect. My mind was already making moves. The next morning, I dialed the number on that card. "Derek? This is Tom, Nicole's boyfriend." A pause. Hi." His voice carried that same hesitation men have when they already know something's wrong. "I was wondering if you'd be free for lunch tomorrow. Just you and me." "Does Nicole know about this?" "No," I said simply. "That's kind of the point." There was another pause, longer this time, then he sighed. "All right. Yeah. Where and when?" We met the next day, at a quiet steakhouse downtown. He looked like he hadn't slept, tapping his phone, avoiding eye contact. I didn't waste time. "I'm not here to start trouble," I told him. "I just need to know what's really going on with you and Nicole." He looked up, startled. "Nothing's going on. We're friends." "Friends who text each other goodnight?" I raised an eyebrow. "Friends who she defends harder than her own relationship." He rubbed his face and exhaled. "You seem like a decent guy, Tom. So I'll be honest, Nicole's always been like this. She can't stand not having backup. When we were married, it was her college ex constant calls, messages, secret meetups. When I complained, she said I was controlling. Then one day, I came home early and found her in bed with him. The words hit like a slow punch to the chest. She told me your divorce was mutual." Derek gave a humorless laugh. "That's her version. She got the house, alimony, everything. Her lawyer was her dad's golfing buddy. And when I thought about fighting back, she reminded me she had pictures from a bachelor party, taken out of context, but enough to destroy me in court." "So she blackmailed you?" I asked quietly. "Pretty much. Look, I'm not here to stir things up. But if she's repeating the same behavior, be careful. Check your credit accounts. Check everything." When I left, I found out she'd opened 3 credit cards under my name. Maxed them out before I even knew they existed. I sat there, jaw tight, nodding slowly as the puzzle pieces rearranged themselves in my head. Lunch ended in tense silence. Derek left first. I paid the bill and stared at my untouched steak, realizing my so-called option 3 had just become very real. That night, while Nicole was out at her usual yoga and wine evening, I sat down with my laptop and opened my credit report. My hands were steady, but inside, my gut was twisted. Derek had sounded so sure, like a man reliving a nightmare I was about to walk into. The page loaded, and there it was, a credit inquiry from 2 weeks ago. I hadn't applied for anything. The application was denied, but that didn't matter. She'd tried to open a card in my name. A chill ran through me. I dug deeper. In my filing cabinet, the one Nicole loved to organize, I found my tax folder. Hidden between pages was an unsigned form adding her as a beneficiary to my 401k. It wasn't filed yet, but her handwriting was there. She was planning to slip it in with other papers when I wasn't paying attention. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the form under the lamplight, and suddenly every late-night financial talk we'd had clicked into place. Her subtle questions about my savings, her suggestions about joint investments. It wasn't about building a future. It was about preparing an exit plan. I logged into my Amazon account next. There were orders I'd never seen, luxury handbags, jewelry, perfume, all delivered to an address I didn't recognize. Melissa's house. Her best friend. Nicole had been funneling my money through someone else. That's when anger replaced shock. Quiet, cold anger. I started taking screenshots. Every document, every suspicious charge, every trace of manipulation. By midnight, I had a digital folder full of proof. I looked around at our living room, the framed photos, the throw blankets, the home together she'd built on a foundation of lies, and I started packing her things. By the time the clock hit 5 the next day, I'd already called my credit card company, changed every password, and removed her as an authorized user. Her closet was half empty, her desk drawers cleared. I didn't want revenge, I wanted distance. Nicole came home that evening, slightly tipsy, laughing on the phone. "Hey, babe," she called from the hall. "You won't believe what Melissa said." She stopped mid-sentence. The living room was filled with boxes. Her boxes. "Tom, what is this?" I closed my laptop calmly. "I had lunch with Derek today." Her face drained of color. "You what?" "Yeah. We had an interesting talk. Brad came up. So did the credit cards you opened in his name." She blinked fast. "That's a lie. He's trying to ruin me." "Then why did you also try to open one in mine 2 weeks ago?" I held up my phone showing the inquiry. Her lips parted, no words coming out. "Oh, and the 401k beneficiary form." I slid it across the table. "The one where you wrote your name." Her voice trembled. "I was just thinking about our future." "Our future?" I cut her off. "You mean the one where you drain my accounts while texting your ex that I'm boring and maybe you two gave up too soon?" Her face twisted. "He showed you those?" "He's lying. Derek's in a relationship. Has been for 8 months. He showed me pictures." That shut her up completely. She just stood there, trembling, eyes darting between the boxes. "You have until Friday to collect your things," I said quietly. "You're not staying here tonight. You can't just throw me out. I live here. You were a guest. You don't pay rent. No lease, no rights." I walked to the door and opened it. "Option 3, Nicole. This is what it looks like." That night, she didn't go quietly. Around 11 p.m., there was a knock, then pounding. When I opened the door, 2 police officers stood there. One of them adjusted his cap. "Sir, your girlfriend says you've locked her out illegally and taken her belongings." I almost laughed. "Come in," I said, motioning them inside. The boxes were stacked neatly by the door. "Her things are right there." They looked around while I handed over a folder. "Here's the property deed. She's not on any lease. She's a guest. And here," I said, sliding my phone toward them, "is a credit application she tried to submit under my name." Nicole stood outside, arms crossed, face flushed with panic and fury. The older officer turned to her. "Ma'am, attempting to open credit accounts in someone else's name is a federal crime. You might want to be careful what you admit." "It was a misunderstanding," she snapped. "We were basically married." The officer sighed. "This is a civil matter. Collect your belongings and find somewhere else to stay." She glared at me. "You'll regret this." "I already do," I said flatly. They escorted her to an Uber, and the street finally went quiet. For the first time in days, I locked the door and felt the air in the house change, heavier but clean. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications. Nicole had posted on social media that I'd thrown her out on the street because I was jealous of her friendship with her ex. Her friends flooded my inbox with insults. Melissa called me a controlling psycho. Nicole's sister threatened to expose me. So I posted my own update. No drama, no emotion, just facts. Since people are asking, I ended my relationship after discovering my ex attempted to open credit cards in my name and was planning to withdraw $150,000 from my accounts. I have documentation and have already spoken to police and a lawyer. Within an hour, everything flipped. The angry comments stopped. Melissa deleted her post. Nicole went silent online. But that silence didn't last. That afternoon, she stormed into my office with Derek. "Tom," she shouted across the lobby, her voice echoing. "We need to talk about this like adults." My co-workers froze. Security started walking over, but I waved them off. "It's fine," I said. "I'll handle it." "Nicole," I said, lowering my voice, "you need to leave. Not until you hear the truth. Tell him, Derek." Derek looked cornered, eyes darting to me. "Nicole, I did tell him the truth." Her face contorted. "You said you'd back me up. You said." Derek cut her off, stepping back. "You told me we were here to get your laptop, not to create a scene." Security moved in. I took one step closer to her and said quietly, "You have 1 minute to leave before I file a restraining order." She sneered. "You wouldn't dare. My dad's a lawyer." I smiled. "Your dad's a semi-retired real estate lawyer. I've already hired a criminal one. Want to see who wins?" Her face went red, then white. She stomped her foot, actually stomped it, and yelled, "This isn't over." Security escorted her out, Derek mouthing a silent sorry before following. I went back to my desk, exhaled, and realized, for Nicole, the show was just beginning. Friday morning arrived, the day the locksmith was scheduled. I was sipping coffee when a silver sedan pulled into my driveway. It wasn't Nicole, it was her parents. Her mother, Deb, was already crying before she got out of the car. Her father, Robert, marched up to the door with forced authority, wearing khakis and disappointment like armor. "Tom, let's discuss this reasonably," he started, trying to keep his tone steady. "There's nothing to discuss," I replied. "Nicole attempted financial fraud. It's done." "She was confused about your relationship status," he insisted. "We weren't married. We weren't even engaged," I said. "Being confused doesn't make fraud legal." Deb's voice cracked. "She loves you, Tom. She made mistakes, but throwing her out. She was setting up her ex-husband as a backup plan while trying to drain my accounts," I said, my patience thinning. "What would you have done?" Robert puffed his chest. "We'd have worked through it like adults, not like a child having a tantrum." I laughed. "A tantrum? She tried to take $150,000 from me, and I'm the one overreacting." "She wasn't stealing," Deb said, tears streaming. "She was planning your future." Without telling me, I snapped, while texting her ex that I'm boring and she misses him. "You still want to call that love?" They froze. They hadn't known. So I pulled out my phone and showed them the screenshots Derek had sent, the texts, the timestamps, the emojis that made my stomach turn. Deb covered her mouth. This doesn't sound like our Nicole." "Maybe you don't know your Nicole as well as you think." Robert tried one last angle. "Look, we'll make this right. We'll cover her purchases. Just give her another chance." "It's not about the money," I said. "It's about trust, about legality, and the fact that she's done this before." "That's a lie." Deb cried. "Derek was abusive. He controlled her." "Derek has receipts," I said. 3 credit cards she opened in his name. "Want to see those too?" They went silent, completely deflated. When the locksmith van pulled up, I opened the door without a word. The man started replacing the locks, while Nicole's parents watched helplessly. Robert tried to protest, muttering something about fairness, but stopped when the locksmith drilled through the last bolt. Nicole arrived an hour later, just in time to see her key fail in the door. She pounded on it until I answered through the Ring doorbell camera. "You changed the locks before I could get my stuff," she shouted. "Your things are in the garage," I said evenly. "The code is 1-2-3-4. Take it and go." "I need to check inside," she yelled, tears streaking down her cheeks. "To make sure you didn't keep anything." "Everything you own is in those boxes," I replied. "Anything left inside is considered abandoned property now." She spent 2 hours in the driveway, digging through boxes, screaming, and crying loud enough for the neighbors to come outside. Eventually, her parents convinced her to leave. I stood behind the curtains, watching them drive away, the sound of the locksmith's drill still echoing faintly in my mind. For the first time, the house felt like mine again, empty, quiet, peaceful. But I wasn't naive. I knew Nicole wouldn't disappear that easily. People like her rarely accept consequences. I'd underestimated her once. I wasn't going to do it again. And sure enough, the storm came faster than I expected. It was Monday morning when my phone rang, my bank's fraud department. "Mr. Lawson," the woman said carefully, "we've detected a failed wire transfer attempt of $5,000 from your account. Did you authorize that?" My heart sank. "No. When did this happen?" "An hour ago. It was flagged because of your two-factor verification. The login attempt came from a device registered to a Dell laptop, IP traced to your ex's address." Nicole's laptop. I closed my eyes. She had once borrowed my computer to pay a bill. I'd logged into my banking app on her laptop and stupidly clicked Save Password. That single click almost cost me everything. Within an hour, I was at the police station, sitting across from a detective who listened silently as I laid out the timeline, the credit card attempt, the beneficiary form, the fake purchases, and now the wire transfer. When I finished, he tapped his pen on the desk and said, "This isn't just a bad breakup. This is systematic financial exploitation. We take this seriously." 2 days later, Nicole was arrested at her workplace, in front of her colleagues. The detective called me afterward. "She didn't take it well," he said dryly. That evening, she called me from jail. "Tom, please," her voice cracked through the static, "drop the charges." I was desperate. "You threw me out with nothing." I took a slow breath. "Nicole, this call is being recorded. Are you confessing to attempted wire fraud?" She went silent for a beat. Then, click. The line disconnected. By the next morning, her father had bailed her out and hired a criminal defense attorney, not his golf buddy this time. The lawyer called me that afternoon, polite but firm. "My client is willing to make restitution for any damages in exchange for dropping all charges." I stared out the window, the sunlight spilling across the floor. "Your client attempted multiple forms of fraud over several weeks," I said. "That's a pattern, not a mistake. I'm not dropping anything." The lawyer hesitated. "You understand this could ruin her life." I almost laughed. She should have thought about that before trying to ruin mine. 2 weeks later, the courtroom smelled like paper and old carpet, the scent of endings. Nicole walked and dressed like she was heading to brunch, not facing criminal charges. Her lawyer whispered something, clearly begging her to tone it down. She ignored him, smiling at me like nothing had happened. The prosecutor was sharp, relentless. He laid everything out: attempted identity theft, wire fraud, credit card fraud, conspiracy, and the 401k beneficiary form. Derek testified first, explaining her pattern of behavior, calm, factual, detached. Then it was my turn. I told the story, step by step, from deal with it or leave to the lunch that exposed everything. Nicole's defense? It was a misunderstanding. We were basically common law married. The judge chuckled. "Ma'am, this state doesn't recognize common law marriage. And even if it did, it wouldn't give you the right to open credit in someone else's name." In the end, she took a plea deal: 6 months probation, 100 hours of community service, restitution for the purchases, and a no-contact order. Her employer fired her the next day. Turns out, a fraud record doesn't pair well with medical billing. It's been 2 months now. Nicole's living with her parents, working retail. According to Derek, she's telling everyone I ruined her life over a misunderstanding. He and I actually grab drinks sometimes now. Strange friendship, born out of mutual survival. The last I heard, Nicole tried reaching out to Brad, the same guy she cheated on Derek with years ago. He's married now with 3 kids. He blocked her immediately. Sometimes karma doesn't come in flames. It arrives in quiet moments, like watching someone argue with a cashier over a 50-cent coupon. She thought she held all the cards when she gave me that ultimatum. But she was playing checkers while I was playing chess. And my option 3 wasn't revenge, it was closure.